He told the whole family I left him to rot in the dark. Then I showed up to Sunday dinner with the deed, the receipts, and a lawyer. Honey, grab a drink, something strong, because the tea I am about to spill is piping hot and it tastes like pure, unadulterated justice. We are talking about the kind of family drama that makes you want to call your therapist just to say, thank God. I'm talking about a father who thought he was King Midas, but turned out to be the jester of his own sad little kingdom. Let me take you back to the moment the match was lit. I'm Leo. I'm 25. I work in high-end graphic design, and for the last 7 years, I have been the invisible backbone of a household that should have collapsed a long time ago. My father, Richard, let's call him King Richard, shall we, was the kind of man who believed that respect wasn't earned, it was extracted, like a tax. He was a my roof, my rules kind of guy, even though he hadn't paid for a shingle on that roof since 2018. We lived in this gloomy, rain-soaked suburb just outside of Seattle. It was me, King Richard, and my younger brother, Sammy. Our mom passed away when I was 18, right when I was heading into college. And listen, grief does weird things to people. I get that. But grief didn't make Richard sad, it made him mean. It calcified him. He took her absence as a vacuum he needed to fill with noise and control. He wasn't hitting us. No, he was too civilized for that. He used words. He used silence. He used disappointment like a weapon. If I landed a huge client at work, he'd ask why I wasn't working for a real company with a pension. If I cooked dinner, he'd complain the chicken was dry. You could never win. You could only survive. But here's the kicker, the detail that matters most. I wasn't just a son living at home. I was the ATM. Since Mom died, Richard couldn't be bothered with the minutia of modern life. He didn't do online banking. He didn't do passwords, so I did it. I paid the mortgage, the electricity, the high-speed fiber internet he needed to stream his conspiracy documentaries, the water, the trash, everything. It was all set to auto pay from my account. I did it to keep the peace. I did it for Sammy so he wouldn't have to worry about the lights going out while he was studying. I thought I was being a good son. Richard thought I was a servant. The explosion happened on a Tuesday. It's always a Tuesday, isn't it? I had just pulled a 14-hour shift trying to rebrand a tech startup that couldn't decide on a shade of blue. My brain was fried. I walked through the front door, soaked from the rain, carrying 3 bags of groceries I'd paid for, and the house. Y'all, the house was a disaster zone. There was a mountain of takeout boxes on the coffee table. The dog was barking its head off because it hadn't been let out. And in the kitchen, the garbage disposal was backed up, spewing gray, foul-smelling sludge into the sink, overflowing onto the linoleum. And where was Richard? He was sitting in his recliner, volume at 50, screaming at the TV. I dropped the groceries. I didn't even take off my coat. I just walked into the kitchen and started grabbing paper towels, trying to stop the flood. That's when he waddled in. He didn't ask how my day was. He didn't offer to help. He leaned against the doorframe, crossed his arms, and sneered. About time you got home. Place smells like a sewer. You plan on fixing that, or are you too busy playing on your computer all day? Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was quiet. It was the sound of a cable finally fraying after years of tension. I'm cleaning it up, Richard, I said, not looking at him. But maybe if you'd rinsed the plates before shoving them down there, this wouldn't happen. Oh, you would have thought I slapped him. He turned purple. Don't you dare, he spat, stepping closer, invading my space. Don't you come in here with your attitude. You think because you make a little money drawing pictures you're better than me? You're ungrateful. You are arrogant. I pay the bills, I said, voice shaking just a little. I buy the food. I'm tired. Then leave, he bellowed. He pointed a shaking finger at the door. If you're so burdened, get out. Go. See how you survive in the real world without me holding your hand? You're lucky I let you stay under my roof. The room went dead silent. The only sound was the drip, drip, drip of the sludge hitting the floor. I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw a small, angry man who had mistaken fear for love. Okay, I said. He blinked. What? Okay, I repeated. You want me to leave? You got it. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I walked past him, went to my room, and packed 2 suitcases. My laptop, my external hard drives, my passport, and the box of Mom's old jewelry I kept hidden under my bed. I booked an extended stay hotel on my phone while I zipped the bags. I stopped at Sammy's room. He was wearing headphones, staring wide-eyed at me. I'll come back for you, I whispered. I just need a few days. I walked out the front door into the rain. Richard was still standing in the kitchen, looking stunned, waiting for the beg, waiting for the apology. I got in my car and drove away. And let me tell you, that first night in the hotel, it was the best sleep of my life. Silence, peace, no eggshells. If you're already shook by the audacity of this man, hit that like button. Because, honey, I haven't even gotten to the petty part yet. The lights are about to go out, literally. I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. Not a peep. I found a nice apartment downtown, a loft with exposed brick, and most importantly, a landlord who wasn't my father. I was settling in. I was healing. Then my phone rang during a client meeting. It was the landline, the house number. I let it go to voicemail. He called again immediately, and again. I stepped out of the meeting and answered, "This is Leo. What did you do?" Richard's voice was frantic, bordering on hysterical. "Excuse me?" "The power, the internet, the water, it's all off. The house is dark, Leo. What did you do?" I leaned against the hallway wall and let a slow, cold smile spread across my face. "Oh, that. See, when I left, I did exactly what he asked. I took myself and my burden elsewhere. That included my bank account. I had logged into the utility portals the morning after I moved out and clicked Stop Service for the address I no longer resided at. I assumed naturally that the king of the castle would set up his own accounts. "I don't live there anymore, Richard," I said, my voice smooth as silk. "You told me to pay my own bills and live somewhere else. I'm just following your rules." You little snake," he sputtered. "You can't just cut off the power. I have food in the fridge. Sammy has homework. You are trying to sabotage this family." "I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm just not subsidizing you. You're the homeowner, right? Call the city. Put it in your name. Fix it." "I can't," he screamed. "They want a deposit. They want a credit check." "Sounds like a personal problem," I said. "Good luck." And I hung up. I stood there for a second, feeling my heart racing. It wasn't fear, it was adrenaline. For the first time, I held the cards. Sammy texted me 10 minutes later. "LOL, Dad is losing his mind. He's looking for candles. I'm going to Starbucks to do homework. You're a legend." I sent Sammy a $50 gift card for food and told him to stay safe. But Richard, he wasn't done. He was just getting started. And this is where the story goes from petty family drama to legal warfare. A week passed. The power was still off. Richard was too proud and too broke to pay the deposits. He was running a generator in the backyard that sounded like a dying tractor. The neighbors were already complaining on the HOA Facebook page. Then Sammy called me. It was late, maybe 11 p.m. "Leo," Sammy whispered, sounding scared. "He's meeting with a realtor tomorrow." My blood ran cold. "What?" "He's selling the house. I heard him on the phone. He said he's cashing out and moving to Arizona. He said he's done with the rain and done with us." I gripped the phone so hard I thought the screen would crack. "He can't sell the house, Sammy. He thinks he can. He's telling the realtor he's the sole owner. He's talking about listing it for way under market value just to get a quick cash grab." That was the moment I stopped being the annoyed son and became the executioner. See, Richard had made a fatal miscalculation. He believed his own hype. He believed he was the man of the house so intensely that he forgot to check the paperwork. When Mom got sick, she saw the writing on the wall. She knew Richard was reckless with money. She knew he was a narcissist. So 6 months before she passed, she put the house in a living trust. And who were the beneficiaries of that trust? Me and Sammy. Richard had rights of residency only, meaning he could live there as long as he maintained the property and paid the bills. But the title, the deed, it belonged to the trust, and I was the trustee. He didn't own a single brick of that house. I didn't sleep that night. I pulled out the heavy box of documents I'd taken with me. The trust agreement, the death certificate, the deed transfer, it was all there. The next morning, I took a personal day. I went to the family lawyer, Mr. Henderson, who had drafted the trust years ago. When I told him what Richard was trying to do, the man practically rubbed his hands together. "This is fraud, Leo," Henderson said. "Attempting to list a property you don't own, that's big boy trouble. We drafted a cease and desist order that was so thick it could stop a bullet. We also drafted a notice to vacate for breach of trust terms, specifically failing to maintain utilities and attempting to illegally sell the asset. I didn't mail it. Oh no, I wanted to deliver it by hand. I drove over to the house around 2 p.m. There was a sleek black Mercedes in the driveway. The realtor. I walked up the porch steps. The front door was open. I could hear Richard's booming voice inside. "Yeah, just want a quick sale. Cash is king, right? I built this place up, but it's time to move on." I stepped into the hallway. The smell hit me instantly. Stale garbage, damp dog, and mildew. The darkness was oppressive. "Actually," I announced, my voice echoing off the bare walls, "you didn't build anything." Richard spun around. The realtor, a sharp-looking woman in a blazer, looked between us, confused. "Leo," Richard growled, "get out. I'm in a meeting. This is private property." "It is private property," I agreed, walking further in, "but it's not yours." I dropped the heavy manila envelope onto the dining table. It landed with a heavy thud. "What is this?" Richard asked, his eyes darting nervously to the realtor. "That," I said, pointing, "is the deed to this house, which is held in the Martha Evans Family Trust. And that is a cease and desist order preventing you from listing, selling, or encumbering this property in any way." I turned to the realtor and flashed my most charming professional smile. "Hi, I'm Leo. I'm the legal owner. My father here is confused. He has no authority to sell this home. If you list it, I will sue your agency for negligence before the ink is dry." The realtor's face went pale. She looked at Richard. "Is this true, sir? Is your name on the title?" Richard turned 50 shades of red. It's a technicality. My wife died. It's marital property. He's trying to steal my home." "It's not a technicality, Richard," I said, my voice dropping an octave. "It's the law. And since you've let the utilities get shut off and tried to commit real estate fraud, you've violated the terms of your residency." I looked him dead in the eye. "You have 30 days to vacate, or I will have the sheriff remove you. Make sure you're subscribed, because the update I'm about to drop is going to make you scream." This man did not go quietly. The realtor left within 30 seconds. She practically ran to her car. Richard was left standing in the dark hallway, shaking. "You wouldn't," he whispered. "I'm your father." "And I was your son," I said, "when I was paying your bills, when I was fixing your mess. But you told me to leave. You told me to live in the real world. Well, welcome to the real world, Richard. In the real world, you can't sell things that don't belong to you." I walked out. I wish I could tell you he packed his bags and apologized, but narcissists don't fold, they double down. 3 days later, the family group chat blew up. My phone was vibrating off the table. Aunt Karen, Uncle Bob, cousins I hadn't seen since I was 12. Everyone was messaging me. "How could you do this to your father? He says you hacked his accounts. He says you're on drugs and stealing his retirement." He had launched a full-scale PR campaign. He told them I was mentally unstable, that I was abusing him, that I had forged documents to kick him out because I was greedy and wanted the insurance money. He played the victim so hard he should have won an Oscar, My Aunt Karen left me a voicemail saying, I hope you're proud of yourself throwing an old man onto the street in winter. You are heartless. I didn't reply to any of them. I just waited. I knew Grandpa Dale's 80th birthday dinner was coming up that Sunday. It was going to be at a nice Italian restaurant. The whole clan was going. Richard would be there, undoubtedly ready to perform his King Lear tragedy act for the audience. I decided to RSVP yes. When I walked into that restaurant with Sammy beside me, the room went silent. You could hear a pin drop into the marinara sauce. Richard was sitting at the head of the table, holding court, looking smug. He clearly didn't think I'd show up. I walked right up to the table. I was wearing my best suit. I looked rested. I looked successful. Leo, Aunt Karen hissed, I don't think you should be here. I was invited, I said calmly, and I brought a gift. I placed a thick black binder on the table right in front of Grandpa Dale. What's this? Grandpa asked, looking over his spectacles. That, I said, loud enough for the whole room to hear, is the receipts. Inside, I continued, making eye contact with Richard, who was starting to sweat. You will find the last 5 years of bank statements showing that I paid every single bill in that house. You will find the trust documents Mom signed, not me, Mom, leaving the house to her sons. You will find the police report filed by the realtor for attempted fraud. And you will find the text messages where Richard admits he was going to sell the house and keep the money, leaving Sammy with nothing. Richard stood up, knocking his chair over. This is lies. Don't look at it, Dad. He's photoshopped it. Grandpa, I said gently, turn to page 4. It's the letter Mom wrote explaining why she didn't trust Richard with the house. Grandpa opened the binder. He read in silence. The room held its breath. Grandpa looked up. He looked at me. Then he looked at Richard. His face hardened. Richard, Grandpa said, his voice like gravel, sit down and shut up. Grandpa passed the binder to Uncle Bob, who passed it to Aunt Karen. The binder made its way around the table like a hymnal in church. As people read, the glares shifted. They shifted from me to the sweating, red-faced man at the head of the table. Richard tried to sputter excuses, but the evidence was black and white. It was notarized. It was undeniable. By the time the lasagna arrived, Richard had left. He claimed he didn't feel well, but we all knew he just couldn't handle the exposure. The fallout, the eviction went through. Richard tried to fight it, but he had no money for a lawyer, and no one in the family would lend him a dime after seeing the binder. He moved into a cheap motel off the highway. Sammy moved in with me for a bit, then went off to college, which I helped pay for with the money I saved by not supporting a grown man. Update 1, 2 months later. You'd think he'd learn, right? Nope. I got served legal papers. Richard found some ambulance chaser lawyer to file a suit for wrongful eviction and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He wanted $50,000. I didn't even stress. My lawyer, Henderson, filed a motion to dismiss and a countersuit for the unpaid bills during Richard's holdover period where he refused to leave. We went to a hearing. The judge looked at Richard's filing, looked at our evidence, and literally took off his glasses to rub the bridge of his nose. Mr. Evans, the judge said to Richard, you are suing your son for evicting you from a house you do not own after you attempted to fraudulently sell it. Is that your position? It's my home, Richard yelled. I'm the patriarch. You are a tenant, the judge corrected, and a bad one. Case dismissed with prejudice, and I'm ordering you to pay the defendant's legal fees. Richard walked out of that courtroom looking like a deflated balloon. Update 2, 6 months later. 6. The house is stunning now. Sammy and I spent weekends renovating it. We tore out the stained carpets, painted over the yellow walls, and got rid of every trace of Richard's gloom. We're renting it out to a nice young couple, and the rent money goes into a savings account for Sammy's future. I haven't spoken to Richard. Rumor has it he moved to Arizona anyway, living in a trailer park. telling anyone who will listen about his ungrateful sons who stole his empire. Last week, while cleaning out the attic, I found one last box Richard had left behind. It was buried in the corner. Inside, underneath some old tax returns, was a journal Mom kept. I opened it to the last entry. "I worry about Leo," she wrote. "He tries so hard to please Richard, but Richard is a black hole. He will take and take until there is nothing left. I'm securing the house so that one day, when Leo finally finds the strength to stand up, he'll have ground to stand on." I sat on the floor of that attic and cried for an hour. She knew. She planned it all. She gave me the sword. I just had to be brave enough to swing it. So here is my question for you guys in the comments. A few family members, the ones who always say family is family, are saying I should reach out to Richard now that he's broke and alone in Arizona. They say I've made my point and I should be the bigger person. But honestly, I think the biggest person is the one who knows when to close the door. What do you think? Should I send him a postcard or should I leave him on read forever? Let me know. And stay petty.